Uganda's health authorities reported Thursday the Ebola-related death of a nurse, the first recorded fatality from that disease since the last outbreak that ended in 2023. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel rejects the U.S. government's decision to send illegal migrants to the Guantanamo naval base. And Hamas and Israel complete their third hostage exchange as part of the ceasefire deal signed on January 17th. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Uganda's health authorities reported Thursday the Ebola-related death of a nurse, the first recorded fatality from that disease since the last outbreak that ended in 2023. According to authorities, the 32-year-old male nurse was an employee of Mulago Hospital in the capital Kampala and was treated at several locations in the country after developing a fever. Multiple lab tests confirmed he had been suffering from Ebola, while the Sudan strain of the disease was confirmed following post-mortem tests. At least 44 contacts of the victim have been identified, including 30 health workers and patients at Mulago Hospital. Uganda's last Ebola outbreak was discovered in September 2022 and killed at least 55 people before it was declared over in January 2023. The French town of Redon remains flooded as residents wait for water levels to decrease after a nearby river did not recede as quickly as expected. The Armenian depression earlier this week unleashed downpours on northwestern France, sparking some of the worst floods in decades. As a result, the town of Redon in the region of Brittany has been sitting in water since Wednesday, as it is surrounded by two rivers, a canal and marshes. Meanwhile, the Red Cross had set up an emergency shelter for 50 people at a local sports center with camp beds lined in a row and tables and chairs set up under its basketball hoops.
The water is 50 centimeters inside, 45 centimeters here and 45 centimeters outside. The water comes from the basement, from outside, and from the pipe. So we've actually saved all this. We put it here and blocked it off here. The hotel is working at the moment, just without hot water because the boiler was damaged. They brought in a pump to stabilize the water level so it wouldn't hit the electricity box behind it. The electricity box would have been affected by the water, which would have meant that they would have cut the electricity to the whole of Rue de Doves. That would have meant evacuating people, it would have meant the risk of an accident, lots of things. So they were super reactive. You really have to give them credit for that.
Authorities recovered more than 30 bodies from the Potomac River after a passenger plane and a military helicopter collided in Washington, D.C. in the United States. With no reports of survivors, search and rescue teams continue to work to recover the bodies of 64 passengers and crew from the plane and 3 from the helicopter. A team of divers has recovered 2 black box recorders from the crash site, which showed that the operators asked the helicopter if the plane was inside before the crash, but did not receive an answer. The American Airlines plane was on a domestic flight between Wichita and Washington, D.C. when it crashed and landed at Reagan International Airport. On Thursday morning, President Donald Trump confirmed that there were no survivors of the plane crash and held a minute's silence for the victims.
A moment of silence for the work has now shifted to a recovery mission. Sadly, there are no survivors. This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital and in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions. As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us so suddenly. And we are a country of, really, we are in mourning. To request a moment of silence.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel rejected Thursday the U.S. government's decision to send illegal migrants to the Guantanamo naval base. According to U.S. President Donald Trump, a facility holding as many as 30,000 inmates will be built in the illegally occupied Cuban territory to house what he described as the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the people of the United States. The Guantanamo naval base has been occupied by the U.S. government since 1898 against the will of the Cuban people. During the last few days, the United States Immigration and Customs Control Service intensified its operations, detaining at least 5,000 immigrants and issuing more than 1,000 arrest warrants. The Cuban president expressed on X his rejection to Washington's decision, posting, "In an act of brutality, the new U.S. government announces the imprisonment in the Guantanamo naval base located in illegally occupied Cuban territory of thousands of migrants that it forcibly expelling, who will be placed next to the infamous prison of torture and illegal detention." The 6th International Conference of World Balance continues in Havana, Cuba, with the holding of forums, social workshops, and the World Congress of Poets for Peace in Defense of Life. Forums such as International Coalition of Humanity and Building a World Beyond Wars are part of the event to face the problems of development and the consequences of armed conflicts in the world. At the same time, a space is planned to promote the experiences of the José Martí Cultural Society and José Martí's ideology in the Caribbean island, as well as the 3rd International Colloquium of Cuban Historians. The event is being attended by more than 600 delegates from 98 countries and will end on Friday. Brazil's President Lula da Silva assures that the country will respond reciprocally if the U.S. imposes tariffs against Brazilian imports. In the face of Trump's threats, the Brazilian head of state also indicated that he seeks to establish a practical relationship with his U.S. counterparts, especially on environmental issues. In addition, he recalled Colombia's diplomatic situation with Washington after refusing to receive deportations, which caused tensions between both governments. However, the White House announced that it would pause the imposition of the additional tariffs to other nations announced by Trump.
It is very simple. If he imposes tariffs on Brazilian products, there will be reciprocity from Brazil. We will impose tariffs on products exported from the United States. It's simple. There is no problem.
Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro called the ALBA TCP members to a summit meeting in order to evaluate the political landscape in the region within the context of the far-right aggressions. The Bolivarian head of state said he agreed with the presidents and prime ministers of the bloc's member states to hold the summit on Monday, February 3rd. The announcement was made during a meeting with the teams promoting the nation's great missions, where the Venezuelan president activated the fourth transformation of the Homeland Plan 2025-2031 for the social and economic transformation of the country. During the event, Maduro stressed that coups d'etat in Latin America have always been triggered by Yankee-oriented oligarchies and the United States governments. Days before the first national public consultation of 2025, teleSUR visited different communes to know the transformations that their inhabitants have carried out through this democratic and participative initiative. Belén de los Santos, our correspondent in Caracas, has more details from El Panal 2021 commune.
Next, held a special summit to establish the fighting.
On Sunday, February 2nd, the communes and communal circuits of Venezuela will go to the polls. Instead of electing representatives, Venezuelans will be able to directly decide which community projects will be financed in their territories. This is the third national public consultation, another chapter in the construction of Bolivarian participative and protagonist democracy. In the El Panal 2021 commune, located in the iconic 23 de Enero parish in Caracas, this new instance of popular organization is eagerly awaited.
With lots of joy, with much enthusiasm, in recent days we held an assembly with our 9 communities, where they postulated 6 projects ranging from repairs to cultural spaces, fixing of leaks in our buildings, in our houses. We have tried to ensure that the reality of our communities is represented in this participation of the 2025 National Public Consultation.
The 2 previous national consultations held in 2024 have already left their mark in El Panal. At that time, the residents of the commune decided to finance the renovation of a staircase of vital importance for the daily life of the commune and the purchase of an ambulance to guarantee the transfers to health centers. These projects are now a reality.
The ambulance is for us, our first executed project. It was really an initiative of our people. It has changed the community a lot. Now from the people's power it is possible with a lot of effort to have our own means for the transfer and health care of our people.
And truly, many people, both here in Building 28 and in the whole community, have benefited from having the ambulance, people from here and from outside, so it is very good, it really is.
For the neighbors of El Panal, the consultation evidences the steps taken by the Bolivarian government to achieve a participative and protagonist democracy based on the strengthening of the popular power.
This relation between the government and the grassroots popular power is fundamental to really reorganize the whole of society, to put the people al mando, we would say in Spanish, in control of their own lives collectively, not individually, the people, the working class, in charge of their history, of their daily life, of their economy. That is basically what the commune is, and these councils are an exercise that helps us go in that direction.
The walls of El Panal speak of a history of struggle and a clear horizon for the future. The consolidation of popular power and the creative capacity of the inhabitants to transform their own territory. In this sense, the public consultations are a step farther on the road to this dignified and sovereign destiny.
Because here they do not come to do what others think is convenient for us, or what they think we need. We have a plan, and that work plan is called a concrete agenda of action, what we want in the short, medium, and long term. On February 2nd, the people come out, they wake up very early to go out to vote, to choose. We get the results, and then this government, this communal government, this new government of the communes, goes out and carries out these projects, executes them financially and with its qualified labor force, because we have that force.
Belén de los Santos, Denise Arabí, for teleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Fun a short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas and Israel has completed their third hostage exchange as part of the ceasefire deal signed on January 17th. After a delay of a few hours, the Israeli occupation released 110 Palestinian hostages in compliance with the agreement. The Palestinian Commission for Detainees and Ex-Detainees Affairs and the Palestinian Prisoners Society pointed out that in the group set free by the Israeli forces, there are 32 people serving life sentences, 48 serving various prison sentences, and at least 30 children. On the other hand, before the Palestinian hostages release, Hamas handed over 3 Israeli prisoners to the International Red Cross as part of the exchange. The United Nations urged the State of Israel to reverse its decision to ban UNRWA from operating in Gaza, East Jerusalem, and the West Bank. The United Nations Office for Human Rights expressed its concern about the decision and warned of the serious impact the ban would have on essential services, including food distribution, medical care, and education in the occupied Palestinian territories. The international body also stressed the serious human rights consequences for tens of thousands of Palestinians and urged the Israeli government to repeal the law passed in October by the Israeli Knesset. The Israeli regime's decision has provoked international criticisms, with humanitarian organizations warning of negative repercussions it will have on Palestinian refugees who depend on the agency's services. The Israeli occupation forces cut roads, demolished houses, and attacked civilians in villages south of the Lebanese border. The Tel Aviv occupation has once again violated the ceasefire agreement by carrying out a bulldozer operation in the border town of Al-Daida. An Israeli drone also dropped a bomb near a family inspecting their home on the outskirts of the village of teleSUR. In this context, since the ceasefire came into force on November 27th, Israel has violated the ceasefire more than 1,300 times without being condemned by the monitoring mechanisms that are supposed to ensure compliance with what has already been agreed. Syrian de facto terrorist government disbanded the People's Assembly as well as other national and political institutions and laws. De facto authorities announced Wednesday the abrogation of the constitution, including all associated amendments. Likewise, they unfolded dismissing the People's Assembly, which had been set during the Bashar al-Assad's government. In addition, they disbanded the committees derived from that entity. They further informed that a temporary legislative council will be created for the transitional stage until a permanent constitution be enacted. And with this information, we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.